Thank you for listening to Ivy Podcast, where we feature weekly leadership conversations with thought leaders and industry experts. Now, here is your host, Jahn Karsybaev.
Hello, I'm Caneda. I'm the team leader at Unicorn Incubator, and I'm also a professional rugby player at Sarlat Rugby.
Lucas, thanks so much for making time to join us on the Ivy Podcast. Before we dive in, talk about the Unicorn Incubator and a lot of great stuff you guys are doing with entrepreneurs. Give us a thumbnail version of your career prior to that.
Okay, first, thank you for having me on your show, and it's a pleasure being here. And about myself, okay, I'm from Argentina, and my dream was to become a professional rugby player. At that time, there was no professional teams back home, so I knew that I had to fly over somewhere else to get it done. When I finally had my chance and to jump into professionalism back in 2015, that opportunity came in France. So I didn't hesitate that much. I just packed up and flew, grabbed my opportunity, followed my dream. So I consider myself very lucky on that end to actually had what I fought for. And since then, I started having more things to do. I mean, I played professional rugby for like 4 years, but after a small period of time, I thought it was not enough, I would say. So I started studying online. I started entrepreneuring, started working. Last year, I knew I wanted something else. That's how I met Dom Einhorn, the founder and president of Unicorn. And I connected right away with how he sees things, how he approaches business, and with his incubator, and we started working together for the past year. And I mean, it's a great thing, and thrilled to be doing both things at the same time.
Right. No, that's super exciting, and thanks for sharing that. Where are you currently based?
I'm in Sarlat in France. It's a small town in the southwest of France. It's around 2 hours from Toulouse and Bordeaux.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very unique. So tell us a little bit more about the Unicorn Incubator, what it's all about, and what's the overall mission.
The overall mission is to help startups grow, and the word we like is thrive, right? So we take startups the American way. So for us, a startup actually meets 3 criteria. That's having a proof of concept, having a couple clients, and actually being able to convince at least your mother that what you're doing is worth it, and to invest a little bit in what you're doing. Why? Because if you don't really convince someone from your family, how are you going to convince an incubator to help you out? Or at a later stage, how are going to convince investors to jump in when you need to? So we try to also, would say, lower the risks in terms of startups, because we all know that those risks are pretty high. But we found out that if you meet those criteria, well, the risks start to go down, and that's how we approach our clients, and that's the people that we work with. And then we like to ask one specific question that we think it's crucial. It's, what are we going to do in order to help you out, and how fast can we add value to what you do currently? That answer needs to come pretty quickly and be pretty obvious, because we don't want to waste time, right? Not ourselves, but not you as a client. We don't want you to waste your time, because we've got better things to do on both ends. And so we need to be sure that with us participating actually accelerating what you guys are doing already, we can really add value, have an impact.
Okay. So with entrepreneurs who are looking at all kinds of different accelerators or incubator programs out there all over the world, what type of value proposition that Unicorn Incubator provides to entrepreneurs to make you guys stand out from all others? What would be kind of the unique thing that an entrepreneur will consider to join Unicorn versus all others? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because we always tell our clients to be different. We've got people pitching every single day in everything that we do, and the ones that actually hook you, the ones that stand out, are the ones that actually make a difference. So what do we do that makes us different from the others? Okay, our basics come from digital marketing. So we are very much focused on article syndication, SEO, ASO. Today we control over 5,000 keywords, ranked number 1 on App Store and Google Play. On SEO today, we can actually craft an article, publish it, and in 30 minutes be ranked number 1, 2, 3 for different keywords on Google News. And that's what people are actually looking for today, to avoid all the friction, right? So customer acquisition, we've run campaigns for a lot of clients. We've done it hundreds of times. And then the other thing that we focus on is the investor side. We are actually hosting the Startup Super Cup, we've named it, in October here in Sarlat physically, because we really like to put this relationship, these encounters between startups and investors, to help them find the capital that they need to thrive. So those are the 4 or 5 things that we really focus on.
Got it. Got it. That's very interesting. So pre-pandemic, with you guys being in such a unique geographic location, in a smaller town in France, right? Going into virtual environments, talk to us a little bit about dynamic, how have things have changed, and what was unique about your guys' location prior to that, before everyone was doing everything virtually?
There's a couple of things on that area. I would say first thing is costs. So it's not the same to if you pay rent in London and you pay rent in Sarlat. I mean, the difference is pretty big. And we know that in many cases for startups, it's the investors that actually choose where you're settling. And if it's up to the investors to pay 50 grand for rent, or 5,000, I mean, the natural decision should be come to a cheaper place. Why are you investing so much? And what we try to focus on is actually showing people that you can do business being in a rural area. There's no need to be in London, in Paris, in New York to actually do business. And we've been doing it before COVID. We keep doing it right now. In fact, we have one of the startups that we took from very early stage into the VR sector, and it's going public in Canada and Germany in the next couple of weeks. And I mean, pre-seed into public exit during COVID on a rural area. So that's something that can be done. It's the important thing to have it in mind is that you can do business wherever you are if you just do it well.
What are some of the trends that you're very excited about these days? You see entrepreneurs from all different sectors, different industries and solutions that they're building. What some of the areas that you see more of these days? What are some of the trends that you're observing?
Well, first and foremost, we are focused on tech. We do tech only. in terms of actual sectors that are developing pretty big, I would say, and pretty quickly. We do like DeFi, decentralized finance. We think it's democratizing money, and it's growing very, very big, very, very quickly. We are invested ourselves into a couple of deals. So yeah, I do think that's one of the biggest. Again, some of the things that we are doing on the ER/VR sector, as I named a couple of before. And well, AI is also a big thing. Of course, a bit more mature than DeFi today, but those would be the three biggest, I would say.
Yeah, very interesting. From a perspective of entrepreneurs that are applying to different, accelerators and incubators, and yours in particular, what recommendations would you have for these founders when it comes to, increasing their chances of getting accepted? And also, what are some of the recommendations you have in terms of setting the right expectations before, starting their journey in any accelerator or incubator?
So I can't speak for the others, to be honest, but I would speak about ourselves. What do we do and what do we look for whenever a potential client or a new startup? We're looking for, first and foremost, passion. I mean, the actual entrepreneur needs to be passionate about what he's doing, because he needs to be able to roll up his sleeves and get himself into work. Spending this, I mean, they don't have the funds to go through deep investment, so they need to be able to work as much as they can to get it up and running. If you're not passionate about what you do, you'll hardly ever do as much as you need to. And then another crucial point, I would say, it's prepare your startup in a way that you're actually fixing a problem and you're not just creating a new one. We've seen countless of times people that are actually trying to do something which doesn't give value to the people that they are targeting. And if you don't provide added value to them, it will never work. I mean, you need to have very clear what you're fixing, what you are solving, what problem are you there to tackle, for them to be to lower the risk whenever you create a startup. If you don't have that in mind, that target mentality, fixing problem mentality, it's going to be very hard.
What are some of, the most unique questions that you guys like to ask as part of that initial interview with the entrepreneurs, and what information are you trying to get out of them as those questions are being asked?
That's a great question, by the way. So we don't have a real model, I would say, but we really like to understand what they are doing. So what I usually try to do is let them tell me what problems have they encountered while producing what they're doing, to try to identify if we or someone else already has the solution to those problems, and to understand if we can actually provide value, help them actually accelerate what they're doing and get into the next level. I think it's very important for us to identify the risks on this, on the startup, on the company, and the way to do it is understanding what have they done so far, what have they struggled with, are they in a position that they can do what it takes to survive, to grow, to get it up and running. Because sometimes if people are not willing to do it themselves, I'm not there to do it for them. I'm there to help them out, be with them in the process, but not willing to take the process myself. This is your company. your startup, if you're not willing to do what it takes to get it to the finish line, nobody's going to do it for you. And you need to be quickly identifying if the person you're working with actually is a good to be working with. You know what I mean? I mean, you need to be able to identify if that relationship is going to be productive, it's going to really work, or it's gonna shoot back in your face after.
So you guys are seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of entrepreneurs and founders, through application process, and those that go through the program as well. Those that do graduate and become successful organizations, what are the common denominators that you're able to observe through some of your data that lets you, think from a perspective of, if you were to mold a perfect startup founder, what are some of the key traits that really stand out in those that have graduated and become successful companies?
Yeah, I think being passionate about what you do is a crucial point. Being able to put work into what you're doing, because again, if you're not doing it yourself, nobody's going to do it for you. And the third thing, which might be one of the most important ones, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to have the most brilliant idea ever, but you need to have something that's actually providing a solution to a market, to a target audience. If you provide that, then there's always a place where you can sell your products. So having that market mentality, because you can produce something amazing, but if there's nobody that's going to be using it afterwards, your business is going to bankrupt, because you need to be selling your product eventually.
Right. Yeah, that's a great observation. In terms of your personal sources that you utilize on a daily basis to keep yourself informed on all of the trends and all of the things that are happening in your industry, share with us your content diet. What do you consume on a daily basis?
Would Google qualify for that? I mean, there's plenty of things going around. I do like to follow news, general news on what's going on the startup world, entrepreneurs, fundraising. Those would be three key points I would say I usually daily read about. I don't have any preference, but I do like, I don't know, I usually check investing.com, for instance, because to know what's happening. I have a couple others that show me fundraisers that are happening, what's new. But yeah, but nothing like in particular. I just keep looking what's going on and be up to date into what's happening, what's new, especially around what you do, right? So I'm working with startups, I'm working with companies, working with different exchanges. So I like to know what's happening. I like to know who's new, what new companies are there. I follow sports because, of course, I'm a professional rugby player too, and I do love sports. And we are running a sports tech company to also ourselves. So it's very important to actually see what's going on, see how, in this case, COVID is impacting different companies, different sectors. Yeah, keep yourself as much as you can informed.
Yeah, those are great observations. And last but not least, what are you currently reading in terms of a book, and what's one book that you always recommend to others, and why is that?
I actually had a baby 10 months ago. Haven't been reading as much as I would like to. You might guess why, but I love reading, and I do have very different. I mean, I think one of a good book I've read. It's probably common denominator, but Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert. I think it speaks more about that mentality that you need to have, that education, but not regular education. You can get education anywhere.
Mhm.
You can educate yourself if you're just smart enough to have that inquiries, that will to have more, to understand better, and that's something you need to develop yourself and always keep running, and always I don't know, but I consider myself a big competitor, and I think that keeps you running, right? So you can actually you want more, and in order to get more, you need to understand more things and read, get yourself informed. Do you have yourself any recommendations?
In terms of books, yeah, quite a few. I'm actually, right now I'm in the middle of a book called The Upside of Stress, and it's something that it was actually recommended by Keith Raboy on one of the podcasts that I was listening to. It's basically, a research study that talks a lot about how a lot of times stress is perceived as a negative, but it's actually the data proves otherwise in terms of utilizing stress as a motivator, as an energizer, and how to be a lot more productive from that perspective. And also the other one that I just finished is called the Mental Toughness Handbook. I'm all about, same as you, I'm an athlete and all that, but mental fitness for me, especially the last several years, have been a top priority. It's very interesting area, so I've been reading a lot, but that particular book gives not only theory, but a lot of exercises that you can actually take. So I've been recommending that book to quite a lot of folks in my network. So that's kind of just to add to that.
That mentality it's a big part of everything, right? I mean, you need to have that. That if your mind's not working properly, I mean, you're pretty much done.
Right. Absolutely. Lucas, it's been a great pleasure. Very short and insightful conversation. Personally learned quite a bit. I appreciate you being very generous with the information and things that you guys, utilize on daily basis at Unicorn. We're definitely going to stay in touch, and definitely really appreciate your time today.
I loved it. Thank you for having me, and don't hesitate. I mean, let's keep in touch, of course.
Thank you for listening to the Ivy Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our RSS feed on ivypodcast.com and all major podcasting platforms like Spotify and iTunes. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a rating on iTunes.